Evidence of Proto-Thracians or Proto-Dacians in the prehistoric period depends on the remains of material culture. It is generally proposed that a Proto-Dacian or Proto-Thracian people developed from a mixture of indigenous peoples and Indo-Europeans from the time of Proto-Indo-European expansion in the early Bronze Age, when the latter, around 1500 BC, conquered the indigenous peoples. The indigenous people were Danubian farmers, and the invading people of the 3rd millennium BC were Kurgan warrior herders from the Ukrainian and Russian steppes. Indo-Europeanization was complete by the beginning of the Bronze Age. The people of that time are best described as Proto-Thracians, which later developed in the Iron Age into Danubian Carpathian Ghetto Dacians, as well as Thracians of the eastern Balkan Peninsula. Between 15th–12th century BC, the Dacian Getae culture was influenced by the Bronze Age tumulus Urnfield warriors, who were on their way through the Balkans to Anatolia. In the 8th to 7th centuries BC, the migration of the Scythians from the east into the Pontic steppe pushed westwards and away from the steppes the related Scythic Agathyrsi people who had previously dwelt on the Pontic steppe around the Lake Meotis. Following this, the Agathyrsi settled in the territories of present-day Moldova, Transylvania, and possibly Oltenia, where they mingled with the indigenous population of Thracian origins. When the Agathyrsi were later completely assimilated by the Ghetto Thracian populations, their fortified settlements became the centers of the Getic groups, who would later transform into the Dacian culture. An important part of the Dacian people descended from the Agathyrsi. When the Latania Celts arrived in the 4th century BC, the Dacians were under the influence of the Scythians. Alexander the Great attacked the Getae in 335 BC on the lower Danube, but by 300 BC they had formed a state founded on a military democracy and began a period of conquest. More Celts arrived during the 3rd century BC, and in the 1st century BC, the people of Boii tried to conquer some of the Dacian territory on the eastern side of the Theiss River. The Dacians drove the Boii south across the Danube and out of their territory, at which point the Boii abandoned any further plans for invasion. Some Hungarian historians consider the Dacians and Getae the same as the Scythian tribes of the Dahai, Massagetei, also the exonym Daxia one with Dacia,